Thank you for watching The Abundant Life today. I hope you've been enjoying the depression series so far. I hope you're learning more about depression and how to cope with it or help someone you love. Remember to subscribe and click the bell to be notified of my new videos. Please leave a comment below and let me know how you feel about these videos. Today I'm excited to have as my special guest Dr. Jermaine Nicholas, Director of the Nutriverse Wellness Center. He's a naturopathic doctor who practices alternative and holistic medicine. His office is based in Philadelphia, where he lives with his wife and two wonderful children. Today, he will be sharing about how to overcome depression naturally. So you do not want to miss this. I will be right back. I am pleased to have with me today Dr. Jermaine Nicholas, Director of the Nutriverse Natural Wellness Center in Philadelphia. Thank you for joining me today, Dr. Nicholas. So tell me a little bit about what you do and what services you offer.
Well, thank you very much, Samantha, for this invite and this interview.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to be here to share as much as we can to help those who may be facing challenges with depression and other psychosomatic disorders. At the Nutriverse Natural Wellness Center, we try to take the guesswork out of doctoring, and we try to get to the root cause of challenges. And in dealing with any challenges, we have to get to the root cause. We don't want to keep the pipe running while we use the mop. We have to turn the pipe off. So what we do is try to get to the root cause of people's challenges and help them create a program, a wellness program with a natural intervention, non-invasive, drugless, no surgeries. But of course, there are times when these may be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So we ask our clients to maintain their relationship with their general physicians, and we help them on that pathway to health and wellness. So that's what we do at the Nutriverse Natural Wellness Center.
I love that. I liked when you said, you get to the root of the issue, because I am a believer of that. If you don't understand the root, you can't truly fix the problem. You cannot put a Band-Aid on it, right? So I'm glad to hear that. Depression is real, and it impacts millions of people worldwide. And I really want to hear, your perspective on how you help people to manage depression and live healthier, happier lives. How do you support people who come to your institute for help when they are presenting with either mild or major depression or severe?
Yeah. And that's a good point, because when we talk about trying to get to the root cause, there are 10 different categories of possible causes of depression.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, I can't wait to hear what these are. So, okay.
And the first is genetic. So you could inherit genes from family members like your parents or grandparents who were having chronic depression throughout their lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Developmental, so if you are raised in a traumatic or abusive, unloving or uncaring environment, that can scar, that can actually scar the brain, right, and cause depression on its own. Lifestyle, so whether you choose to exercise or not, whether you get your bright light, that can determine a depression.
Right.
Social factors, your social health, whether you have good, healthy relationships that you can count on, whether it be family, friends, or colleagues. Toxins, environmental toxins, uh, clean air, whether you're breathing clean air, whether you're susceptible to heavy metals in your diet, your food, your water, and so forth. The sixth is circadian rhythm. So if your sleep wake cycle is disrupted continuously, that can actually lead to depression. Addiction. So if one is addicted to substances, that can also lead to depression. And nutrition factors. So if we eat the wrong things, if you put the wrong things in your body, you can actually disrupt your brain with health by just putting the wrong thing in. Medical conditions. There are some medical conditions like thyroid problems, and even the popular chronic diseases, non-communicable diseases, are underlying causes of depression. And the frontal lobe. So the frontal lobe is the seat of our intellect, our will, and our spirituality. And a drop in circulation activity in the frontal lobe has been shown through brainwave analysis and brainwave research to lead to major depression. Right? So
Wow.
these 10 possible causes have to be evaluated in order to find out which one. Now, at least 8 of these are curable. The genetic and the developmental may be, depending on how the extent, may not be easily reversible. So that is good. That's hope for the person who is depressed. It means that depression can be reversed. But it requires that we get to the root cause. As in the case of my own mother in the past, she had underlying chronic diabetes and hypertension, and severe depression was there. I had to deal with the chronic diseases first, and the depression went after. So just by dealing with the hypertension and the diabetes naturally, the depression went.
So how do you because you're a naturopathic doctor, how do you approach dealing with that in a different way than the a primary care physician, for example? Now, what's the difference?
So the difference is very wide. I am not allowed to prescribe drugs, so I cannot consider drugs. But I do encourage the moderate to severe depressed person to maintain that relationship with their primary physician. My job is to identify whether that person is sleeping well, whether they are having a healthy lifestyle, whether they are addicted to substances like coffee and so forth, whether they are addicted to alcohol. I have to identify if they have other underlying medical conditions that could be the root cause. Now, the difference between the naturopath and the primary care is that I would be looking beneath the covers to find out what is the trigger, as opposed to just dealing with the presenting symptoms. Depression caused by a deficiency in folic acid or vitamin B12 will never be resolved by drugs. That's what research shows. Dr. Nedley from the Weimar Institute have identified this years and years ago through his own research. And this has been well accepted in peer-reviewed research papers. So you have to fill the vitamin or mineral deficiency in order to deal with that depression.
So do you find a lot of people coming to you with concerns with regards to depression, or are you find that people come with other things and then you talk about depression? Like, what do you see in your clinic?
So normally, people do not readily admit that they're depressed. So
Okay.
they will present with other challenges. And during the discussion, when you come to a naturopath, you will spend about an hour or even an hour and a half. So the naturopath cannot see you in 10 or 15 minutes and give you something to let you out. He
Wow.
has to
Hour and a half.
understand
Wow.
your life.
That's intensive. That's good.
It is intensive. So we have to understand your lifestyle. We have to understand what you like to eat. We have to understand where you like to go. We have
Mm-hmm.
to understand whether you prefer to be around people who may be negative people, because
Mm.
research shows that being around negative individuals can actually lead to depression.
Wow.
So all of these little lifestyle factors we need to understand in order to fully deal with the depression. But it can be reversed, and that's good news for the person who is depressed. So
Mm.
they do present with other challenges, and then in the discussions, we have to deal with depression because it comes out when we evaluate them.
Okay. Okay. So they come from more chronic illnesses, maybe other illnesses, and then you have to bring that to their attention that there is something else happening as a result. So I think for most people, a lot of people do not like taking medication for depression. People who I've worked with, they're like, I don't want to go on a medication, Miss Campbell. I can't do this. So that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I think that knowledge is power. So if people can have a alternative way
Yes.
to, reduce their symptoms, then I think that's important for them to know, how can they do this without having to go on medication.
Yes. So just by exercising, a
Okay.
mild to moderate depressed person can easily reverse that depression just by
Wow.
getting into regular exercising.
Okay.
Remember, I said earlier that depression is characterized by low circulation to the frontal lobe. Exercising actually increases the circulation around the body and to the brain, to the frontal lobe.
Hmm.
There are some foods that are rich in tryptophan. Tryptophan and tyrosine are two sub-nutrient amino acids that, if the food is deficient, so the diet is very important. So if the
Right.
food is deficient in these two key amino acids, then that person is likely to be at risk for depression. So just by having foods, for example, pumpkin seeds and soy products are good sources of tryptophan.
Okay.
Watermelons are good sources of tyrosine. Watermelons, mustard greens, spirulina, and other green vegetables are good sources of tyrosine. The omega-3s in flaxseed and chia seeds and spinach are
Okay.
also very good for feeding and maintaining healthy brain chemistry. These are significant. There are significant differences in restoring brain chemistry once you add these foods to the diet. Limiting dairy, limiting especially red meats and fried meats and smoked meats can actually reduce the arachidonic acid intake in the body. And that can also go to improving depression.
So what does that acid do? A lot of people, might find that challenging because people love their red meat, they love the cheese, the ice cream, and that's hard for some people, Dr. Nicholas. Like, why is that so critical um, to not
So
have in your
what
diet?
is important, is that they reduce the portions. The
Okay.
body won't need as much protein as we give it. God designed it so that we only have to give it 33% of the protein requirements. God caused the body to create the next 66%.
Oh,
So our bodies really don't need more than a chicken leg in a day.
wow. Because people having
And
a whole chicken.
we're eating half one chicken in a day. That's what people are
Okay.
doing in
Okay.
developed world. So these are little lifestyle changes and
Mhm.
adjustments that can help one to reduce their disease risk and their depression risk.
Right.
Folic acid, we mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Folic acid that are in beans for example, adding more beans to the diet, fresh orange juice,
Okay.
right? Lentils are rich sources of folic acid. Folic acid is good for the brain. B12 is good for the brain and the nervous system. And if there's B12 deficiency, then there could be an impending depression there. There are nootropic herbs that can also help one who is depressed, right? The ginkgo biloba, the St. John's wort,
Okay.
the valerian, chamomile, skullcap. These are readily available. And these help to boost serotonin production. They help to boost blood flow to the small capillaries in the brain. And they encourage healthy brainwave activity and the reversal of depression.
Wow. Like I'm getting excited just listening to you because, you know, I'm a Christian too, and you know, God said He created the herb for the healing of the nations, but not knowing that, you know, what to do and how to use them is a big
Yeah.
challenge. So this is very helpful just to know what specific, you know, nutritional things, you know, to utilize and how they actually impact the brain. This is just amazing.
Yes, it is amazing
Yeah.
actually. Psalms 104 verse 14 says, God caused the grass to grow for the cattle and the herbs for the service of man.
Wow.
If we
Amen.
only believe it, we will get a blessing.
Amen to that. Amen to
There are
that.
some other selected lifestyle therapies that can actually help one who is depressed.
Okay.
For example, social support. So we have to evaluate the level of social support and whether the depressed individual can trust the support that is around them.
Right.
Because it doesn't mean just a passers-by support. Hey, how are you? It means support that the person can depend on.
So a deeper connection.
A connection.
Yeah. Okay.
And even going to church and having a healthy religious experience can actually help one to overcome depression. Codependency therapy, where you have group therapy and people become friends in codependency therapy, that also helps. Owning a pet. Research shows that the one who is depressed, severely depressed, and owns a pet can actually overcome that depression because the pet gives no trouble. The pet is lovable. The pet is obedient.
I guess it gives also this companionship too.
And the companionship
love
is,
and care. Yes.
yes, you hardly can pay for the benefit of that companionship. Hydrotherapy is also another lifestyle therapy that can be included.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, so a magnesium bath or a sulfur bath. Sulfur in chemistry is called the beauty element or the beauty mineral.
Okay.
Yes, so
Know
getting a
that.
sulfur bath
Okay.
will help to remineralize and relax the body. Stress control measures, listening to healthy music. Classical music has been shown to encourage healthy brain waves and encourage blood flow to the brain and boost memory. Right? And classical music has actually been shown to allow the inaccessible psychosomatic individual, whether depressed or schizophrenic, to be accessible. And that's very powerful in the research on how to overcome depression.
So do you ever so have you had patients who have tried, you know, the recommendation in terms of, you know, diet change, nutrition, exercise, and all those other things, and they are still having challenges? Do you ever have to recommend using a medication for depression?
So by virtue of how I work with my clients, I ask them to maintain that relationship with their physicians, and also hope sometimes that the psychiatrist and the general practitioner will be kind enough to the individual to reduce the medication when the natural interventions start working. So the natural interventions always do a work. And if that work is even to just restore general health and digestion and energy, it will do it. So the professional on the other side of the spectrum has to do their part. And this is why social support is important, because if the person is severely depressed or even moderately depressed and need the help to communicate with the primary care or the psychiatrist or psychologist, then that is required to help them over the hump.
So you're saying there's
Relationship.
need for collaboration in terms of
Yeah.
creating a team, because I see what you're saying. There might be some people who come to you who are already on medication, who based on what you're doing with them can start reducing dosage, and it might be effective for them, and that you have to work with the doctor. There are some people who you're saying, do you have people then who need to go on it even after you have worked with them?
So once the deficiencies, if it's a nutritional deficiency, depression, remember depression is caused by several categories. So if it's nutritional deficiency, once the nutritional deficiency is resolved, that person more often than not will have no need for the drugs.
I see your point. Okay.
But
it's a nutritional
up to that point,
okay.
They have to go hand in hand, right? So that at least they get the interventions from both sides, the healthy drugs, because some of the drugs cause depression in themselves, right? And also the nutrient therapy, the detox and cleansing and nutrient therapy. If it's a circadian rhythm problem, once we restore the sleep-wake cycle, then that person may no longer be in need of drugs. If it's a social issue, once that social support is resolved, whether close family members and relatives and friends come into the mix and develop the confidence in that person that is required and the trust factor, then you find that that person will have hope and they may no longer be in need of the drugs that they're using. Toxin environment, many times mold and other fungi and challenges are in the home, cannot be seen, is triggering depression and other illnesses. Once those are alleviated and the body is cleansed and nourished with the nutrient therapy, then that person may no longer be in need. So the whole idea is to identify the root cause.
Okay.
As I say, the genetic factors, there's no easy way of reversing that. That's in the blood, right? That requires almost a lifetime of cognitive behavioral therapy and nutritional help and social support. So here is where we would need a synergy of approach to help that person who is genetically predisposed or depressed. So it depends on the root cause.
Okay, that's very helpful to understand. So it's a very, you have a very holistic approach. So you have to definitely start at the root so you know what you're addressing. And then you're saying you collaborate, with other physicians and professionals, depending on what is the cause. Okay.
Exactly.
That sounds that sounds good. I like it. I think, holistic care is very costly, Dr. Nicholas. Insurances don't cover it. So that is a huge barrier. Do you find that as a barrier? Like people struggle to be able to really do holistic care because it's not covered by health insurances. So
you know what? Some people, yes, it's a fact that because we're not covered by health insurance, it is a prohibitive cost. But it's not significant. For example, when you evaluate the value of your holistic care versus your primary care, it's a value that you have to evaluate. You may recognize, because many people, one of the reasons why people still come to holistic practitioners is because they get their value. Now, we understand that we may be the last to be consulted.
Yes.
Because people will naturally use their insurance first.
Yes.
And then when they feel that they're not getting the help that they need, then they will come to the holistic practitioner. If your car requires $2,000
Mm-hmm.
to get a new engine, you will get it. If your body requires 500, you should give it the same attention.
Fair enough.
And
So
that's
you're
how we
saying it
make the
should be a
push.
priority. Make your health a priority, and it will reduce the cost of your health in the long run. It might be much cheaper,
Mhm.
right? In the
Very,
long run. And you have shared some very helpful tips about how we can even start doing that in our daily life based on what you've told us about different vitamins that we need to have in our diet.
exactly.
I mean, how to use that effectively if people are severe. I guess they could talk to you directly about that, you know. But those tips that you gave us and suggestions, I'm sure people are excited to hear that because they can start to even implement that on their own. Yeah.
Exactly. So there is a major difference between quality of life and standard of life. The
Hmm.
quality of life is the one that you want to have at the highest, right? You don't have to have the Mercedes and then the body is popping down, right? Invest in the body to
Yeah.
have a healthy quality of life. And then the standard of living may just
We'll just
increase.
go up. I love that. I like that. So you shared that initially you mentioned your mother and the fact that she had chronic issues going on, illnesses, and she also had depression. Like, what was the outcome of that? Do you want to share that some more about that?
Yeah, so my mother is a multiple stroke victim,
Wow.
and she had to drop out of university and
Mm.
stop teaching from I was about 4 years old when she was 35, and my younger brother was just born.
Mm.
Mother was told that she has to live on drugs for the rest of her life, and she was hypertensive and diabetic for most of her life. 10 years ago, I made a bold decision to evaluate, to use my logical reasoning intelligence to see how I can help mother.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't accept that on 10 courses of drugs,
Wow.
some multiple times per day, she
Mm-hmm.
was having an emergency almost every single month.
Mm.
She was chronically depressed, and she was having even one of her toes that was going extremely bad. And my friend, who is a physician, I called him by the house and asked him to evaluate the amount of drugs that she has. She had a little box of drugs,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked at the toe, he looked at the, evaluated the drugs, but he defended his industry. At the time, I was a telecom professional. I was a young executive in the telecom industry.
Right.
My entire lifestyle, my entire training was on being logical. He defended his industry, mother still needed help. I had to be leaving work sometimes and heading to the hospital.
Wow.
So I decided to do some research. And the research brought me to meganutrient therapy
Mm.
and adjustments to her lifestyle. So the first thing we did was to pray,
Yes.
and we asked God to provide the guidance on the journey. And all those nutrients that I read that help with diabetes and hypertension, I incorporated in our diet. So I would travel frequently on company business all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So once I touch the US soil, I know I get some, go to vitamin shop, or I don't want to endorse any single
The brand.
retailer, but
Mm-hmm.
I would find places where I can get high quality nutrients based on those that I've researched. And I found that the B complex, especially the B3,
Yes.
is very, very effective in conquering diabetes.
Really.
I also found that
Mm.
vitamin E with selenium is effective in conquering blood pressure problems. I also found that the garlic supplements were also very helpful. And I found that vitamin C in mega dosage
Mm-hmm.
was curative on many, many challenges. But there's no money in vitamin therapy. So you will never hear of these research.
Yes.
But luckily, I'm thankful to God that He gave me the direction.
Amen.
And out of that direction, I decided to leave the corporate world and go do my doctorate in natural medicine,
Wow.
which I started in 2014 and completed in 2019. So it was a tremendous blessing. So it's now, the long and short is that August 2010, I took away that box of drugs with the help of God. Now, let me say that the body likes gradual change.
Yes.
So that was a radical move. Thankful to God, He blessed the effort. But
Mm-hmm.
mother was very obedient. She was more obedient to her son, who loves her and would spend time with her and was doing it out of love and not a doctor-patient relationship.
Yes.
She obeyed the rules and she gained the benefit. Mother is now 73 years old and it's 10 years. August this year, or in August 2020, makes 10 years that mother is on no drugs for hypertension
Wow.
or diabetes.
I need to repeat that for me because that's just amazing. So repeat that for me. No drugs.
No drugs. Totally replaced with lifestyle
God is good.
adjustment
Wow.
and nutrient therapy. So mother has now developed her own family routine. So every Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
mother who was depressed years ago, she would
Yes.
call all her children all over the world and she would motivate them. She will see her
Look at
grandchildren.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's an
So there's
amazing story.
a
Wow.
complete turnaround
Mm-hmm.
in her
Mm-hmm.
life. She would have been gone already if the nutrient intervention was not made. So
Right.
I'm thankful to God that He gave the direction. I walked away from an illustrious telecom career in the corporate
Mm-hmm.
world to study natural medicine, to bring the same attention to detail and lifestyle adjustment to help others. And I
Yeah.
thank God that it is working.
Well, you followed your purpose, and it's an amazing story because you obviously came into this profession because of somebody who was close to you, and you
Yeah.
saw the impact of it firsthand, and that's just amazing. That's an amazing story that your efforts to save and heal your mother was successful, and now you're using those same approaches with prayer to
Yeah.
save people. So I am just happy for you. I'm happy for your work, and I'm just praying that God will continue to bless it, and that I'm sure you have been helping other people too since you have been doing this, and this is exciting, and I want
Yes.
people to know how to contact you, and whether or not this is, COVID has changed things. People can't necessarily come to you physically sometime, but do you do virtual support? Like, tell me some more, talk about how people can access your service.
Yeah. So I can be contacted by phone. So I do um, telephone consultations and I can also do Zoom consultations
Okay.
with persons. And I still do have clients in and around the area who are brave enough to come to the office for
Okay,
their
good. Okay.
evaluation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And my number is 267-627. This is the office number.
Right.
267-627-0499. That's 267-627-0499. So you can call that number and make
Mm-hmm.
an appointment, and we'll have a nice, healthy discussion on how to conquer your challenges naturally.
I'm so thankful that we had this talk today. You know, Depression is something that is a disability. It really takes away things from you, your joy,
Yeah,
your life. And that's not God's plan for us. He wants us to have abundant living. And I'm happy that you were able to just share, alternative ways, which I believe is the right way of addressing our challenges. So I'm looking forward to having you again to have more talks about different things. This was so exciting and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Samantha, for the invite. And I look forward to speaking with you again.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Nicholas. So now there you have it. And remember, healthy minds create happy and abundant lives. Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember to subscribe, click the bell so you'll get notification when we have new videos. Take care and see you soon.